At Sussex Cricket, we're always pushing the limits. Searching for that extra edge, that winning formula.
It's about the small gains, the marginal improvements and the dedication to perfection.
But the pursuit of victory doesn't stop on the pitch.
Behind the scenes, WebTrends Optimise is working their magic, optimising our digital journeys, making sure every click counts.
From filling the stands with roaring fans to getting them kitted out in their Sharks gear, WebTrends Optimise helps us connect with our community.
Because nothing fuels our players more than a packed house, a sea of Shark shirts, the energy of our incredible fans.
On the pitch and online, it's a team effort. Sussex Cricket and WebTrends Optimise.
Optimise for victory.
Well, a very good morning and welcome to Hove for the final day of this county championship match between Sussex and Warwickshire. The ground staff are just going through their sort of cleaning up procedures, removing some matting. We have had a bit of rain here overnight and the weather today is completely different from the last 3 days now. It's very overcast, very dark. I'm quite surprised the floodlights aren't on. I'm Adrian Harms. Mike Taylor from BBC WM is with me. Good morning to you, Mike. And I mean, I wasn't here yesterday, but it seemed as if Warwickshire would have probably going into this last day thinking they've got every chance of saving this game.
Yeah, they're quite well placed to draw it. I mean, there is a variable with how cloudy it is this morning. It's entirely different conditions, as you say, from the first 3 days, or at least at any point since about midday on Sunday, when there was a little bit of cloud around, but even then it wasn't quite as heavy. I know the windows are slightly tinted in our box here, but it is a very different nature of the day. And there does seem to be some rain in the local area, so I know you've driven through some rain to get here this morning.
Yeah, I did. Yeah,
I've walked down from Brighton this morning and was quite glad to avoid any rain that was forecast, and I don't think it has rained in Brighton overnight. If it has, it's dried up very quickly. So we are going to start on time, but the ground staff kept one of the thinner layers of cover out until literally just after we started speaking, just in case. I think there is rain that close, so we may or may not get an interruption quite early on, and any time we do lose takes Warwickshire a bit closer to the draw. So I think the pitch did turn yesterday quite a bit, but so the pitch is wearing, and talking to Corey Rothesay yesterday after the game, he still thinks there's something in it for the bowlers. We had one or two emails saying, the pitch is dead. I don't think it is. I think it lost some of its pace from the first 2 days, was my impression watching yesterday. But unless there is a lot of different overheads today, Warwickshire ought to be in a position where they can get safe, I think.
I'm amazed the floodlights aren't on.
Yes.
It's really dark. If you look at the numbers on the scoreboards, they're really, really bright. But now the umpires are going to have a natter, so we can have a delay here while they decide to put the lights on.
I think they might do. But as I say, there is, on the radar, there is some rain quite nearby. There's some very heavy rain. I see that in Canterbury, I see our colleague Andrew Radd saying it's rained quite recently, but they are going to start there. But there's certainly some very heavy rain that I think is just going to miss us, but we might get a little bit, but evidently not yet.
And I'm just looking down below us, because if there is going to be rain here at home, generally speaking, the ground staff sit down below us where the covers are. Anyway, we're getting underway. Ollie Robinson running in around the wicket, comes in and bowls, and Latham is on his way straight away with the boundary. Tucks the ball down to third man and picks up a boundary. He goes to 22 and Warwickshire to 92 for 1. You can probably tell by the real echo around the ground that there are very few spectators in the ground.
Yeah, I didn't think it was a bad attendance yesterday, but not as many as on the first 2 days. But yeah, I mean, the forecast weather and obviously the test matches started the situation of the game. I wouldn't expect too many people. Hopefully there are still people following it online. I'm sure there are. Let us know if you are.
Robinson on his way around the wicket, bowls, and Latham with that familiar leave where he sort of seems to step inside the line and lets the ball pass through to John Simpson, and there is no run.
I'm just going to go and say hello to local radio listeners in the West Midlands, but do drop us emails again today.
Please do.
We had plenty yesterday, and it was good. Lots of you good sports yesterday joining in. Thank you. So I hope you will again today.
Robinson wanders back to his mark. So we have started on time, which is the good news. And the weather is due to improve during the day, so it's certainly not going to be a washout today. As in comes Robinson. Around the wicket, bowls, and Latham defends down the offside of the track, fielded by Robinson on his follow through, and there is no run. Ollie Robinson with 375 wickets for Sussex in first class cricket. Picked up the only wicket to go down yesterday, the wicket of Rob Yates. He's on his way. down the hill and bowls, and Latham defends down the onside of the track, and again there is no run. So yeah, so email addresses, sussexcricket@bbc.co.uk, as here come the floodlights, unsurprisingly, because it is very, very dark. So I mean, actually, in terms from a Sussex perspective, these are probably the most helpful bowling conditions of the match. You know, the floodlights are on, heavy cloud cover. It's still quite close. Not as humid as it was yesterday. As Robinson is in again. Bowls and Latham lets that one go outside of the off stump, and again there is no run. So first ball of the morning went for a boundary. The next four have all been dot balls from Ollie Robinson. The field, 3 slips. Coles, Clark, and difficult to tell from this angle whether I think Tom Haynes is actually in the gully. Then there's a backward point, cover mid-off, mid-on. 2 men set back on the leg side as comes Robinson again. Over the wicket and bowls, and Latham is solidly forward, plays out into the offside. So good, tight, accurate over from Ollie Robinson. Concedes 4 runs down to third man off the first ball of the morning, and Warwickshire now 92 for 1. Latham is on 22, Davis is on 48. In terms of the match itself, I'm just going to have a quick look here. Yep, so Warwickshire trailing now by just 26 runs, but Gurinder Sandhu is going to get us underway from the C end of the ground. He's going to be bowling with 2 slips and a gully, point, cover, mid-off, mid-on, mid-wicket, and a fine leg. Floodlights are on, shining brightly, and Gurinder Sandhu is going to pick up from this C end of the ground.
Off he goes up the hill to bowl to the right-handed Alex Davis, who is squared up a bit by this, trying to push it across to the leg side, and it comes off a leading edge but safely into the offside.
I would say, Mike, that these are probably the best bowling conditions in the match, with, you know, floodlights on, heavy cloud cover.
Yes, certainly the overhead conditions you would think are more conducive to swinging the ball. I would imagine that we would see a fair bit of Jack Carson today, certainly more than in the first innings, as Sandhu bowls and Davis defends back up the pitch. But for now, yeah, they need to investigate and see whether there is any swing to be had.
Was it sharp turn yesterday, Mike, or?
There was quite a lot of turn. My impression was that it was slowish turn. So in the morning, Rocky Choli did manage to turn the ball quite a bit, but and he said himself last night, he said they played me really well in the morning, so they took him for 6 and over during his morning spell. Sandhu bowls again, and this is bunted back up the pitch by Davis. That might have been a full toss, I think. It came out a little bit wrong, but Davis defended it anyway. He turned the ball quite a long way in the morning, but they did play him well. But he came back later in the day and picked up 3 wickets in a rush after tea. But he did find spin. Robbie Yates turned the ball as well. So there certainly was something there, and Rocky Choli's interview last night, what a genial chap, by the way. Sandhu's next delivery turned into the leg side for no run by Davis. He said he did think there was still something in the wicket today. He thought it was a good pitch, but he said it has divoted a bit, which would suggest that, you know, there might be a little bit of variable bounce. I think Warwickshire have been quite impressed with the pitch as a decent pitch for cricket.
Yes.
Maybe it lost a bit of its pace yesterday. Although we'll see. Sussex generally have the quicker bowlers in this match. Sandhu's next delivery, and he's flipped in the air by Davis, but well short of the man running in from mid-on, and he scores his first run today. He goes to 49. So yeah, we'll see how much Carson bowls. Rocky Charlie was. I mean, we'll talk about this more when Carson bowled. He said there is some rough, but he said I think it's more on a better length for the length that Carson naturally bowls necessarily than the length that Rocky Charlie bowls.
Yeah.
But he very much enjoyed the challenge. Several other members of his team had described him to me over the course of the last few days as a cricket badger.
Is
so
it?
I said,
Okay.
are you a cricket badger? Is that you? And he freely admitted to that charge, so good for him. I said, you're in good company here. Round the wicket comes Sandhu to the left-hander, and it's defended by Latham. And there's no run, end of the over. 93 for 2. He said it's his first time for England. I said, did you ever come in and play league cricket? He said, no. He said, between 18 and 21 I was a uni student and I was broke. And he said, anyway, I wasn't any good. So nobody would have wanted me. So it's very, very self-effacing chap. But no, it's his first time here. He said the Warwickshire lads are looking after him. He had a slightly pained expression when I mentioned the kookaburra ball. He said, I've just been arguing with somebody in the crowd about that. He said the same would happen if you took a batch of Dukes to Australia. We'd have the same problem.
Yeah, interesting.
But yeah, a really likeable guy. But he said in Perth I'd wake up at 6 in the morning, first thing I do is check the county scores, and now I'm here playing it, and it's great.
Robinson comes in, bowls to Alex Davis's forward, plays down the track, Robinson fields, and there is no run. So actually we've got 3 very convivial Australians playing in this game, because Daniel Hughes is a smashing fella.
Yes.
Spoke to him after his 151, and he called him Rocky. He said, yeah, Rocky got me out, I said, because when they took that new ball in the last over, Mike, on the second day. And
yes.
Anyway, Daniel Hughes, Gurinder Sandhu is a very nice man as well, and now Rocky Charlie as well. So wonderful. In comes Robinson, bowls. Davis is forward, bat and pad close together, plays into the offside, no run.
Yeah, it was interesting at Rocky Charlie's take on that. He said, I'd worked out at tea that I might get one over with the new ball. He said, so for about an hour I was in the captain's ear. You're going to take that new ball?
Oh, that's
he said, go on, you're going to give me that new ball. Give me that new ball. Go on, give me it. It may sound like Yosser Hughes. Go on, give a go with that new ball. So he said, that was what I was going to do. He said, but he played me really. He said, I had loads of bounce with him in Australia, so it's nice to do it here.
Robinson in bowls. Oh, that kept a bit low. Not too many have kept low in this match, and that rather grubbed through in a good take by John Simpson. There is no run.
So you can find that interview on BBC Sounds and off our social media at BBC Radio WM. But he's very taken with Hove.
Was he?
Yeah, he said he said I just haven't played anywhere like this. Wow. He said you rock up here. He said it's on a hill. He said and there's the boundary short one side. He said he said everybody's into the game and they all know their stuff and they're all chatting to you on the boundary. He's well away with Hove. He likes the town. Go in the town. It's lovely.
Robinson in bowls and Davis plays into the covers. There is no. Oh, well, that's good to hear.
Yeah, no, he's well and truly indulging his cricket badgerdom in here. So
wonderful.
Yes, he's having a good time. It's nice to meet him. I think any Warwickshire fans who come across him over the next few weeks, have a chat. He's a good guy.
And I wonder why Warwickshire. I mean, someone must have had some contact somewhere. It's like all these things, isn't it?
Well, you never know who knows people who knows people.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, no, absolutely.
Warwickshire have had some lads who've been out in Australia and.
Comes Robinson bowls. Davis is forward, stretching forward. Good accurate stuff from Robinson. Played into the offside, no run. It is interesting, actually. I remember with Daniel Hughes and Paul Farbrace saying that because they've all got contacts, haven't they?
Of course.
And I think as important as anything is that they are. I know they talk about the due diligence and it's the right person for the team, but it seems like Rocky Charlie is. It seems like Daniel Hughes definitely is.
Yeah.
So it's not just about. Do they score 100 runs or take loads of wickets? It's about how they fit in, really.
I think that's really important. I hear football managers, when you do cover football as well, like I do, I hear football managers talking about that a lot more than I ever used to.
Robinson in bowls, and Davis plays onto the onside. It's a good couple of overs from Ollie Robinson this morning. He's made Alex Davis play at pretty much every delivery in that over, and he's bowled a maiden over. He's now bowled 10 overs, 3 maidens, 1 for 34. Warwickshire are 93 for 1, still trailing by 25. The camera's being operated by Jack and.
I reckon there's a chap scoring there. Look, I can,
Oh yes,
takes one to know one.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
And and Isaac this morning. Well done, fellas. They're just showing the pictures, and we think there's a fella there who's keeping a scorebook going. There he is.
Definitely good man.
Yeah. Actually, the crowd, it was overcast. Several of the crowd in shorts as well, so it's certainly not a cold morning.
Off goes Sandu, round the wicket, and the left-handed Latham defends him away into the offside. Yeah, I hear football managers much more these days talk about, we're signing a person as
Yes.
well as that we want him to be, you have a good left foot or be good there, whatever else.
Yeah.
They do. But you're signing somebody to be in your workplace, and it was once described to me in fruity language which I won't use, but basically we're having a no idiots policy. They don't always use the word idiot, but I think you get the idea.
Yes.
Here's Sandu round the wicket, and Latham is content to defend away into the offside, and it's right really, because
Totally.
if you're spending, it's not just the time in the match and on the field. If you're spending long periods of time travelling as a group or working, together and in training sessions or whatever, you really want. If you were in a small business, you wouldn't want to hire somebody who was going to be a pain in the office.
No, absolutely.
And a travelling sports team is a bit like a small business, if you think about it. Round the wicket comes Sandu, and this is punched through square on the offside for 4 runs off the back foot by Latham. Not too much movement in the batter, just kept his head still and punched through the line. 4 runs.
Nice shot. No, I agree with you, Mike. And when you think about Sussex last week going up to Durham, you're going up for a 4-day game. You've got a whole day on a coach. You've got 5 nights away in a hotel. But they probably spend more time together than footballers do, for example.
So,
Or going out for dinner together in the evenings or in groups, whatever it might be.
Sandu comes round the wicket, and it's allowed to pass by Latham, who just presses his weight forward.
Just in terms of this game, let's assuming, because the weather forecast is that things are going to improve later on during the day, so on the assumption that, let's say we don't lose any time today, this game could go very deep today, Mike, because Sussex will, as long as they're taking wickets, they'll feel they're still in with a chance here.
Yes, if they can get 2 or 3 before lunch, then they're still in business. Sandu bowls again, and Latham is pushing this carefully away on the offside. Yeah, they've got 2 or 3 hours batting to do with the top order to get safe, Warwickshire.
Yes.
It's hard to see a position from where they could get far enough in front to make it worth giving Sussex another go. I think we can probably rule that out. But the situation of the match is that Sussex, I think, will be interested for quite a long time yet.
No, I agree.
Round the wicket comes Sandu, and Latham pushes away on the offside. And it's the end of the over. So 2 boundaries so far this morning for Latham. Warwickshire 97 for 1. They trail by 21, with Latham 26 and Davies is 49.
Yeah, I mean, certainly, I think from a Sussex point of view, if they got to a situation whereby, I think a declaration is out of the question. That's not going to happen.
No, I can't see that.
So, supposing Warwickshire back to tea, they might have a lead of, then they'd be safe, wouldn't they? Because they'd be a couple of hundred ahead.
Yes.
But if supposing it got to tea and they were only 150 ahead and Sussex had bowled them out by then, I think Sussex would definitely have a dip at it. There's the Warwickshire lads all up on the balcony.
Yeah, I think Warwickshire need to be batting for 2 sessions to be sure.
Robinson down the hill bowls. Davies is solidly forward, plays into the offside, and there is no run. I was thinking about whether new balls might come into it, but I don't think it will. We've got 53 overs until a new ball would be. Is that right? 50? What are we in the 20?
In the 28th over, so we've got another 52 overs.
Yeah, 52 overs. So if Warwickshire bat for 52 overs, then they're pretty much home.
Probably going to be 150 ahead by then.
Yeah. So the new ball, for example, if 4 or 5 wickets had gone down, Sussex take the new ball, that could be interesting as well. So there's all sorts of if, buts and maybes today, as Robinson is in, bowls to Davis, plays into the offside, no run. But the bottom line is that Sussex will need to be taking wickets.
The average rate in this match has been about 3.5 and over. So if Warwickshire was scoring at 3.5 and over, By lunch, you'd expect them to be, scored another 110 runs or so from this point, so there'd be 80 or 90 in front. By tea, another 100 or so, another 110, so there'd be 200 by tea. So if they're batting at tea, they're probably going to be 200 runs in front, and that should be plenty.
Robinson in and bowls. Davis drives firmly into the offside. There is no run.
If you want to email, wm.sport@bbc.co.uk, wm.sport@bbc.co.uk, or
sussexsport@bbc.co.uk, and I shall see if there's any coming, Mike.
I just want from Peter to say he's at Edgbaston today, but wishes us well, and has enjoyed the company over the last 3 days. Likewise,
Wonderful.
Peter, it's been good to be with you. I see Bumrah left out of the Test match at Edgbaston, which is disappointing.
Robinson in bowls. Davis drives down the ground, and that's going to be a half century for Alex Davis. Nicely played, drills the ball down the ground, lovely looking on drive, and picks up a boundary. Does Alex Davis? He goes through to his half century and gets a good round of applause from his colleagues on the Warwickshire balcony. There's a good knock by the skipper, 53 of 89 balls in the best part of 2 hours, including 8 boundaries.
It wouldn't be a bad thing if the captain batted for a while today. It's his 5th half century in the championship this season, but averaging only 29, and has had a couple of quite long innings without making a really significant one yet.
Robinson in bowls. Davis lets that go outside of the off stump, taken by Simpson. There is no run.
78 against Somerset in the last game last week, and a half century at the start of the season, quickly in the first game against Sussex, a couple of others, but lots of starts. So I think the captain it'd be good to see him bat. He's batting in very lively fashion in the Blast. Again, played a lot of short innings in the Blast, a healthy enough average of 28, but with only 1 half century in it. So it'd be good to see him bat for 3 or 4 hours today.
Robinson in again, bowled. He takes it on. Well, I think he's nicked that, and it's gone over the keeper's head. So he looked to take on the short delivery from Ollie Robinson. It's flown over John Simpson's head for 4 runs, but a slightly risky shot from Alex Davis. Nonetheless, he gets away with it. He goes to 57, 2 boundaries in the over, and Warwickshire now 105 for 1. The light is really poor here at the minute. The floodlights are on, shining brightly. Gurinder Sandhu's going to carry on, and I think there's a couple of spots of rain on the window of our commentary box, and maybe not. Away to the west, which I think is where the weather is coming from today, the skies are slightly brighter, and the forecast from pretty much late morning on is pretty good. The lads are just showing the dark skies on the live feed.
You can see a little bit of spots of rain actually on the picture.
Yeah.
So
it could just be a little bit of drizzle around. But we are carrying on, which is good news.
Sandhu is going to start this over at least, and round the wicket to Latham, who punches it firmly up to mid-on, and there's a slight fumble, but there's no run. In the 6th over this morning, and Warwickshire have added 17 so far, but in the gloomiest conditions of the match. By far not overly attacking Sussex. There is a slip, and quite a wide slip, and a catching mid-wicket, which has been quite the fashionable position in this match. Here comes Sandhu round the wicket, and it's defended by Latham back down the pitch. The most fun you missed yesterday was Warwickshire went through some fielding panto, particularly in the half an hour before lunch, and it gave the impression by his body language of getting properly on John Simpson's nerves, because they were well ahead of the over rate, so they were within their rights to indulge themselves, and they were trying anything to get a wicket. So went through a series of increasingly baroque fielding arrangements. Around the wicket comes Sandhu, and there's a run here for Latham, turned through mid-wicket and away for 1. We had all sorts. We had umbrella fields and heavy leg side fields and all round the bat. It was, at one point, they'd all sort of gathered in front of Simpson, 7 men in a close catching ring in front of him, all staring at him for one ball, which Simpson looked quite bewildered, and they took a long time about it. So as I say, they were well ahead of the over rate. So I think they were just playing with John Simpson a bit, just to try and shake things up a bit. And it didn't get them a wicket, but it did cause it.
Quite amusing.
It was quite amusing. Quite a panto they went through. Sandhu bowls, and it's driven back up the pitch for no run by Davis. So, yes, it was moments of. It felt a little bit performative for about 10 minutes.
Yeah.
But that's what it's
right.
part of the game.
Yeah. Mind games and all that.
Yeah. Well, what it did suggest was, even if Warwickshire were feeling a bit tired and having a bit of a slog, and we're going to be a bit behind in the game, the minds were still thinking, let's try something.
Yes.
Let's do this. Let's have a go. And that was quite a good sign, I thought. Simpson runs away from us. Davis drives firmly back, and it's bounced off Sandhu's hand in his follow through. He did well to get down to it. Probably save 4 runs. Let's run away into the onside.
I was sort of expecting today, Mike, that we'd be sort of looking at all the games in Division 1 finishing in draws, which would have got the Kookaburra haters in full flow. But actually, there's 1 or 2 games where there might be a result today.
Sandhu runs away from us, and he's giving it every chance to swing. He's bowling it very full. Davis is happy to drive. Got that one slightly off an inside edge up to mid-on, and it's the end of the over. But Davis will not shy away from driving, and Sandhu is going to give him plenty of opportunities to test it out. So it might be an interesting battle if we continue in this pretty ordinary light.
Well, they're having a chat. The umpire's having a natter. Are they talking about the light?
Or the drizzle, because it is drizzling, although not sufficiently I noticed, to make anybody
no umbrellas
in the stands get their umbrellas. It might be quite refreshing in a way.
Yes.
After the last couple of days, there's one chap with his hood up in one of the temporary stands opposite us, but otherwise, you barely notice.
Yeah, and the ground staff are sitting under a gazebo at the far end of the ground. And generally, if it's going to rain,
yes.
Ben Gibson and his lads are around pretty sharpish. They often sit in the dugouts down below so they can rush on with the covers. So,
yeah. So we could just see on the camera there, it's just glistening off the top of the side screen. So there's a bit of dampness.
In comes Robinson over the wicket bowls, and Latham defends onto the onside. No run. So just in the other games in the First Division, Hampshire are having a torrid time, but they're 93 for 3, still trailing Worcestershire by 365. So they are playing at Southampton, so they've got a lot of batting to do today. Down at Taunton, Somerset are 18 for 2 in their second innings, still trailing Notts by 112. So they've got a bit of work to do down there, and they are playing in Taunton. Start delayed at the Oval. But there's been quite a lot of rain around London this morning, as in comes Robinson round the wicket bowls. Latham clips this down towards fine leg. Well, a combination of well, that was extraordinary. It's a couple of. They're going to come back for a third. No, they're not. They're going to keep it to 2. Ollie Robinson looks as if to say, "What are you doing down there?" But it was Tom Clark dived and fielded the ball. He parried the ball towards Daniel Ibrahim, who then slipped on the outfield, and the ball very nearly went for 4. You could just see it again. Oh, there he goes. Slips over, and then Ibrahim did a double slip. So,
well, yes, I think it was all a bit just on frontier then.
It was.
You could imagine a Belgian chap in a giant costume carrying a bucket of water with great big feet. But I think we can infer from that he's drizzling a bit.
Robinson in bowl, short ball balloons over Latham's head. There is no run, and actually with the quicker, now the umpires having a natter to each other here. Was that because of the short ball and the light? I reckon it is, and I think we could be going off here. Yeah,
the floodlights are on, but I would suggest it's not making a huge difference. Yeah, and Alex Davis has anticipated the question. Would you like to go and have a cup of tea, Alex? I think I'd rather think he would. Yes, so I'm not sure that was a great idea to bowl a short.
No, and actually from a Sussex point of view, I would have thought the best. In fact, here come the ground staff now. They're coming across fairly sharpish, and I think this rain is a little heavier because now the truck is coming racing on, and they're getting some covers ready at the far end of the ground. So perhaps we are going to get a bit of rain here. From a Sussex point of view, they want to be out there really. I almost wonder whether you should go with little Coles and Carson, because
better than not playing at all.
Yeah, it is, because they're not going to take any wickets sitting in the pavilion.
No.
So we have got a break for rain. Oh well, bad light, and we think a little bit of drizzle. Just those other games. So delayed start at the Oval, and at York a delay. Oh, they're on play now at York, where Essex are 35 for 3 in their second innings, still trailing Yorkshire by 56. So every chance of a result at York, at Southampton, potentially the Oval if they get on, and Taunton. So before we start to get too vitriolic about the Kookaburra ball and the effect it's had on these round of matches, we'll just wait and see what happens. The umpires are staying out in the middle. In terms of the test match, India are 13 without loss, having been asked to bat first, and as Mike was saying, no Brummer in the Indian side. I think he's got a back issue, Mike, hasn't he? That they're trying to manage.
Yeah, well, there certainly seems to be something. Or they were saying that they were going to manage his workload, because 5 test matches in 6 or 7 weeks. I mean, I take the point about that's one drawback of having test series condensed so close together. But anyway, yes, if he's not playing, I suppose it's to England's credit. But if I was an India fan, and there'll be plenty of those at Edgbaston.
Yes, there will be.
I saw there was a quote from their coach yesterday saying, "We'll have a look at the conditions and see what our best attack is." Well, I'm what the conditions are at Edgbaston that mean that India's best attack doesn't include Jasprit Bumrah. I'm not quite. Yes. I don't know, but anyway, that's their call.
So we're off for bad light, and we suspect a little bit of drizzle. Having said that, the spectators sitting over in the Spencarmar Pavilion, I can't see any umbrellas up anywhere around the ground. So this is all about the light, and indeed, Ben Gibson and his lads out there are not standing by the covers. So no. I can only assume, and they'll have their weather apps. And in fact, as we look to the west, you can see much brighter skies on their way in. So hopefully this will be a short delay. I always get very confused over when we lose overs and when we don't lose overs. And on the last day in particular, there seems to be all sorts of rules, and I don't begin to understand, but I probably ought to read up and know more about. But we'll get news on overs lost when we do get back underway. But frustration here for particularly Sussex. I think with no disrespect to Warwickshire, Mike, they'll be quite happy if the less time they have to bat today, the happier Warwickshire will be. Yeah. That being said, I think Davis and Latham have looked, would it be fair to say, largely untroubled this morning? Not really any problem, just the top edge, the short ball. But yeah, I mean, look, if they're off the field, that's better for Warwickshire than it is for Sussex, obviously. But I mean, it's obviously not raining that hard because they're not putting the cover on. No. So I think this is more light than rain. Yeah. And we'll see. Just to mark your card, George Garton, who played for Sussex and Warwickshire, is going to come and have a little natter to us sometime after 2 o'clock today for 20 minutes or so. So it'd be nice to see George and perhaps reminisce about his time down at Hove and how he's getting on up at Warwickshire. I know he has spoken to Mike's colleague Richard Wilford in a podcast last week, but it's good to see George. Also might speak to Lewis Hatchett, who's a former Sussex left-arm seamer who's on the ground today, so we might grab a word with Lewis as well and see how he is. But I think with a break in play, we'll leave the effects mic bubbling away so that if you can hear that we are actually here. I don't think this delay is going to be very long. I just get the feeling these brighter skies are drifting their way in, and hopefully within the next 15 minutes or so we should get some play. mother-in-law issues, I think. Yes, hello Sarah. Not so sunny. In fact, there's rain at Hove. We've had 6 overs and 3 balls, but we've now got a shower. I don't think it's a heavy shower. The floodlights are on and it's very gloomy here at Hove this morning, but lighter skies are coming in from the west, so hopefully this will be a fairly short-lived day. In the play we've had, Warwickshire have moved on to 108 for 1, so they're slowly clearing those arrears. They now trail Sussex by just 10 runs. Meanwhile, in our other games, delays in both, I'm afraid. Up at the Oval, no play so far this morning. When they do get underway, Durham 343 for 9, still trailing Surrey by 477. And also it's raining down at Canterbury as well in the game between Kent and Northamptonshire. So no play here at Hove at the moment, but brighter skies on the way, and hopefully we'll be back underway soon.